Even during Christmas, the National Security Agency, NSA, has us under constant surveillance. Even Bob, the monster who assists the NSA in finding terrorists who pose a threat, has bad days. Jane Lee, the primary character, declares she is returning home for the holidays while serving on a U.S. base in Afghanistan. A soldier asks her to come back as soon as possible even though she is running late for her trip. Jane gets intercepted by a woman posing as Whitney Smith, an NSA employee. Jane confesses in the car that Captain Jane Lee is her primary holiday itinerary. The director presents herself as Principal Stevens and details the issues with analytical management, including the fact that the majority of data is handled by hand. Leading Jane through a server room, the director discovers Bob, their best employee, a human brain with an artificial eye. Bob is unable to locate Lucas T. Waite, a hacker and terrorist who is organizing a Christmas terrorist strike. As a psychologist, Jane is brought in and tasked with keeping a soldier out of trouble. But Bob is ill and unable to miss work. Jane calls her family once more to let them know she won't be returning home because of an important duty. She remains silent when Bob questions her about the impending psychotherapy when he shows up on the television. The chat is carried on by a drone that appears outside the window and speaks in Bob's voice. Bob locks the entrance door in Jane's room when she doesn't want to talk. In this passage, Bob, who finds out that Jane is running late for their appointment, tells her that he can follow multiple individuals at once because of a vision that uses echolocation. Lucas T. Waite is Bob's biggest issue because he hasn't seen him since getting off the subway car. Bob tells Jane that he wants to meet with the magic genie to find out what the president will have for lunch on Thursday of next week. Jane becomes irate when Bob breaks off a conversation to reveal the whereabouts of someone who was destroyed by a drone. In an attempt to reach Jane's soul, he broadcasts a live broadcast of her family Christmas tree decorating, which makes her cry. After Jane persuades him to give up being the bad guy, Bob shows her some of his values. Bob speaks out, then realizes where Lucas is once more and vanishes. Bob finds the terrorist, as ordered by the boss, but it's too late. Bob is distracted from the pain of every victim of the terrorist assault by the sound of a huge explosion as Lucas T. Waite leaves a wrapped Christmas present in a subway vehicle. Jane is told she is free by an enraged Principal Stevens as he retires. Bob's condition has improved, but the director says they need to disable the computer because the surgery failed. When Jane asks Stevens for further assistance for Bob, he reminds her that it is Christmas Eve and she should be at home. Bob is visited by Jane and Chris, who discuss his wishes, among them the preservation of Santa Claus. When Bob begs Jane and Chris to turn against him, they are threatened with jail time for betraying him. When Jane chooses to temporarily assume the role of Santa for Bob, he learns that the wife, or representation of life's support, is his primary enigma. Director Stevens gives the order to arrest Jane and Chris, but they are told not to since Bob has taken over the entire system and needs to finish a crucial assignment. Bob tells the director that she has a gift since the FBI has captured Lucas T. Waite and is now in possession of the U.S. nuclear arsenal. Bob gives Principal Stevens back custody of the nuclear arsenal after Principal Stevens caves and admits that they have been pardoned. Bob clarifies that Santa only made an appearance for one night, despite the principal's warning that the president would not forgive them for it. Bob bids Jane farewell as she is hauled away, a sack over her head.